Greetings all, this is Harry, Nick, and welcome back to the Hangar Bay. We're joined by Justin. How are you?
Not too bad. Hello.
Excellent, excellent. Back on the Empire, back on your beloved faction.
The correct team of choice.
The correct team of choice, apparently, some people say anyway. Yeah. This week we are going to talk about TIE Phantoms, a ship that is interesting. It's a bit of a design change moving from 1st to 2nd edition.
Yeah.
It seems to be cropping up every now and then. It's definitely good enough to make it in top tier lists. We had it recently in the runner-up at Coruscant. I'll put that list here on the screen for you guys to see. Alongside a couple of things which are pretty decent right now as well. The TIE Reaper also sitting in that sort of top-ish tier place like the TIE Phantom and Redline. Pretty decent list.
Also the Minok Open as well. It did pretty well in that.
Yeah, a few Whisper lists. At the time of recording this video, I actually have not recorded that video yet, but I've already gone through the data and there's several Whisper lists, so there'll be plenty to talk about in that video as well. You guys will have already seen that. Yeah, looking really, really good. We're basically only talking about the named pods in terms of top tier play.
Yeah.
A little bit of Echo and a lot of Whisper, basically. The main thing about cloaking and decloaking in 2nd edition is you do it in the system phase before everyone activates and moves and all that kind of stuff. And you do that in initiative order. And for that reason, initiative is somehow even more important on this ship, because now the timing of that interacts with bombing as well. So you want to be able to do it after your opponent bombs and be able to react to that. If you use a low initiative Phantom or anything with a cloaking device like that, you risk being forced onto a bomb. So it is even more important. And we know bombing is legit right now with all the TIE Punishers and bombers running around. So, yeah, we're not really having much of a conversation about the low initiative guys. There is one list that we're going to talk about here which uses one of the generics, and I'll talk about the pros and cons of that during that, but it is something to think about. Echo is able to decloak on a curve, the 2 bank. In fact, it must decloak on a curve.
Which is interesting. It definitely gives you a bit more repositioning skills.
Yeah. It's a bit more of a oddity in terms of when it's used and that kind of thing. It's a great budget option. People are gravitating away from the more heavier builds they put on Whisper. And because of that, Echo is a significant saving on Whisper, which is really, really cool. It means there's a lot more list building potential there. Whisper's had a slight change from 1st to 2nd edition. Now, whenever she performs an attack that hits, she gets an evade token, as opposed to the focus token she got in 1st edition. However, evades are more relevant on this platform now because it can spend the evade at the end of the turn to recloak.
Yeah, so this ship now can actually have double evade.
Yes, any ship can. And also, I made a mistake previously in a video. You can spend more than one of them in one attack now. That has changed.
Okay.
I think when we were talking about the Han Solo Resistance card, I mentioned that you couldn't. But you can, and that's awesome.
That's good.
Very relevant. Very, very relevant. So basically, if you manage to sort of keep paying these evade tokens and cloaking and getting the evade and cloaking, it's like you're either cloaked or you're evading all the time, which is really, really good. Now, if something breaks that, if you can't decloak or for some reason you're forced to spend all your evade tokens, basically speaking, if the platform is pressured, it will explode. Like anything else, it's a bit different from other aces in that regard. It's not like Sunterfell that can sort of just deny a bit more. Or force use, something like that. However, it's a lot cheaper than it used to be as well, so that's okay. Let's have a look at some of these lists. We had a few submitted by our patrons. Actually, before I talk about anything else, I want to bring up this list by Coda, because this video, we're not going to talk about dedicated lists that just use the one platform, because TIE Phantoms don't really want to do that. So there's a conversation about the kind of stuff it wants to fly next to, and I think Alpha Strikes are definitely something worth talking about. This list we're not going to go into too much detail talking about because we've already covered Alpha Strikes on the channel. Redline and Captain Jonas, it's a really dedicated Alpha Strike list. We have a pretty meaty build on Whisper here with Vader, Stealth Device, Collision Detector, and Duke.
81 points.
It's very expensive. And we're seeing in meta play a lot with Whisper that pretty much just Duke is okay, or Duke and Vader. I don't think we're really talking about Stealth Device. Collision Detector is cool. That's something that's come up a bit. It came up in that runner-up list we were just talking about before. That really relates more to the style of the player. I don't think it's a requirement. So if we look at something like this, you could easily strip off points And there's also an obvious place to put those points. There's no bombs on Redline or Captain Jonas.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most obvious thing you'd do there. The more bombs you have, as well as Alpha Strikes, you have more board control, and that also ups the power of your Phantom. In a strange kind of way, you're taking off upgrades to make it more powerful, in a strange kind of way.
Yeah, well, the stealth device and collision detector, they're not really attack. They're not using points for attack.
It's not a proactive strategy. Yeah. Exactly right. Plus, you also make the points a little bit closer. Redline and Whisper get a bit closer to each other. Whisper's not so juicy in that regard. But I like the idea, Coda. Thank you for submitting this one. I think it's definitely worth having a conversation about. I didn't know whether to put this in like a Phantom video or in an Alpha Strike video, so I thought, let's talk about it now.
Yeah.
Because of the way it interacts with Whisper, it's definitely worth having a look at. Just really interesting stuff there. I think if you can really get powerhouse Phantom actions and powerhouse Alpha Strike stuff going on together, it's really going to make both of those things.
You're going to be pretty happy with yourself, aren't you? Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Apart from that, we had a couple of other patron submitted lists. We have this one by Roundy with Echo, Whisper, and Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, Echo has Duke.
Whisper has Duke and Vader.
And the Grand Inquisitor has fire control system and supernatural reflexes.
Very simple. I like simple a lot. We have a 3-point bid here, so you might want to consider shaving off something somewhere. Having said that, not a whole heap we can do.
Not a lot you can do.
I think the one upgrade here, which to me doesn't really have as much value, is fire control systems. There is no reason to have target locks on the TIE Advanced prototypes like there was in first edition. You don't get free evades anymore or anything like that.
Yeah.
So maybe just supernatural reflexes and go to a 6-point bid. You have 2 initiative 5s with the Inquisitor and Whisper. Even Echo initiative 4. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right for sure. It's a dedicated ace build. If you can call Phantoms aces, they're kind of they're weird. They're hard to quantify.
Yeah.
They're almost brawlers, almost aces. They do something completely unique.
You could also consider maybe, if you wanted to, switching Echo maybe to Sunterfell. Going 655.
Yes. 54 points. Sunterfell is 52 points by himself.
Yeah.
We know Sunterfell works well without anything, or just like with a 1-point EPT.
Yeah.
Talent, sorry, not EPT. Still getting used to that. That's a really good idea, actually. But even just Echo with Duke.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Still good. And with the Phantoms, you are going to very oftenly have the evade on you, so
pretty much.
Duke is a great...
In fact, if you're flying it properly, you probably would.
Yeah.
We probably should have mentioned before as well, Duke is almost just glued onto this card.
Yeah.
Because it gives you offensive bonuses. And because the Phantom, whenever it will shoot, it probably will always have an evade token.
Yeah.
It's just a soft buff instead of being, when you have an evade token, you get this. Considering how often it does, it's so good.
So the Phantom itself is very much like the Defender. It's always going to have that evade
for sure
stuck onto itself. So
I think on the Defender there is a conversation about other talents, but on the Phantom, it's Duke. Yeah. It's Duke big time. I don't know. I feel it depends on what FFG prints, but I have a hard time seeing a case where Duke, unless Duke becomes more expensive. It's currently 4 points, and we'll see. We'll see. Fire control system on the Grand Inquisitor just doesn't have the value it otherwise would, and that's really the main thing I'd look at. You could duck it out completely. Think about Suntir instead of Echo, like you said. I like that idea.
Yeah. If you wanted to, take off supernatural reflexes, put on sense, or
you go instinctive aim and a missile. Yeah, for sure. There's options there for sure. And then also, if you duck down the points significantly, you can put a crew option on Echo. We'll talk a bit more about that when we get on to some other lists, because people have been playing around with that flex slot as well. Our last patron list this week is by Tim Coughlin, with the Sigmar Squadron Ace, Echo, and Sunterfell. And this is the list I was talking about with a generic.
Yeah. So the Sigma Squadron Ace has Collision Detector and Grand Inquisitor and Duke.
Echo has Duke, Collision Detector, and Vader.
And Sunterfell has Predator.
So I'm not really convinced that the generics is going to see much meta play. However, it is interesting in this list because we have initiative match them at 4. 4 is not completely outside the realm of possibility in terms of ace-ish flying, It is tough, though.
It's more brawler territory than ace, I'd say.
I think that's fair enough. Also, considering the meta is seeing a lot of relevant Initiative 5s, particularly Luke Skywalker, it's hard to look at these kind of platforms and be really satisfied with Initiative 4. Having said that, what are our totals? Echo's at 73. You can definitely consider Whisper instead if you want to go for that. But then they're not initiative matched, and then, yeah. Look, this is going to be great against swarms and that kind of stuff. Where there is no value in going to Initiative 5, you're going to have a bit more flexibility. Being able to have them activate in whatever order you want is going to have value in itself. I just think that this is soft to bad matchups. That's what I'm concerned about.
Grand Inquisitor. That's a... interesting card.
That's a card, to say the least, yeah.
16 points, so it's actually the highest points cost
we
card.
didn't realise that until we made this video. It's more expensive than Palp by 3 points.
More expensive than Vader by 2?
Yeah, and I think the reasoning there is the Inquisitor has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
Being able to take actions out of turn is just really, really powerful. Adding to the action economy in general is something we just don't get the same access to that we did in first edition. So, yeah, I think that's the reasoning there. 2 points more than Vader. I do worry that Vader's just more consistent, though.
I think, personally, maybe switching Vader with Inquisitor on the platforms.
Just changing the crews, switching them over.
Because that way Echo has more to do.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And Echo is the ship that's more likely to catch your opponent unawares, especially with Collision Detector. Remember, Echo actually has more choices when it comes to decloaking. So Collision Detector shenanigans is better on Echo. For that reason, I think Inquisitor might be a bit more interesting. Having said that, Echo also has more potential making value out of Vader. But having said that, if the Sigma does have fewer options in terms of the way it flies, maybe just punching a bit harder isn't such a bad thing on that. It's going to be the brawler more than it's going to be the ace. If those roles are going to sort of be separated like that. And Sunterfell. That's fine. These are all very tricky ships. You haven't gone for a support role alongside them. You could think about that, although there's not much we can do with 54 points. We're not really looking at palpering like that, but it is something to think about. Looks really, really cool. Let's take a look at a couple of lists submitted by our commenters on YouTube. We have one here by Jake Admin.
This has Sunterfell, Whisper, and the Scarif base pilot.
Yes, indeed. Sunterfell has stealth device, afterburners, and elusive.
Whisper has advanced sensors, ruthlessness, and Darth Vader.
No ness anymore, just ruthless.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. And there's Palp on the Scarif base pilot. Yes. Okay, so a Palp list. Very cool. A lot of people are down on Palp coming second edition. I disagree. I still think he's very good.
Yeah. And the Scarif, the TIE Reaper. It's an interesting ship.
Yeah, for sure. It's not a bad option for Palp. It's a good budget option. Comes out at 54 points. I tell a lie. You could have put Sunterfell. You could have switched out this in the last for Sunterfell. Same points cost. That's really, really interesting. And wow, Palp on the board, 54 points is decent.
It's a good,
I know Palp has a lower ceiling than he used to. I understand that. Alongside Sunterfell and Whisper, I think there's something here. Now, in terms of what we know is happening in the meta, I will point out that this list was submitted quite a while ago. We didn't have many meta results when this was submitted. I would not put such a fat build on Sunterfell. I'd really dial that back. Stealth device is really not in the conversation in my eyes. I just don't think he really wants it. I think just a talent, maybe afterburners if you have the points, but that's really where it's at. That's where I feel it's at.
What would you do instead?
I'd take all of this off and just put on something like Predator, even like Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf is pretty decent on Sunterfell.
Lone Wolf's good.
I'm not happy with Elusive, I have to be honest here. I just don't think that Sunterfell wants to prioritize red maneuvers if he can avoid it. I think in fail cases he will, but it's not something you want to build around.
He doesn't do them often.
We want to focus more on value cards and less on synergy cards. Elusive is going to be something that you won't want to lean into too much.
Yeah.
There are times when elusive is great and you do red maneuvers because the situation presented itself to you, but aces want to be versatile. They don't want to have to rely on that.
And realistically, you're getting the reroll from Lone Wolf anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
For one more point, you can, as a fail case, just always use it on defense, which is fine.
So would you put the points onto the Scarif-based pilot? Maybe...
Not sure. We should be pointed out at this stage that we have a relatively light build on our Palp carrier. Honestly, I feel like with the points we could be saving on Sunterfell, going from a 71-point build to like the 50-ish, 51, 52, 53-point build he's used to, we can look at putting Palp on an Omicron group pilot or even a named Lambda pilot instead.
Okay.
And I think that's just solid. And we still have, like, at that point, a 10-point bid. This list has not included a bid at all. And I think that's probably more what we want to have a look at. We've just crammed so much onto this. I don't mind all of that stuff on Whisper, by the way. I think that's interesting. Advanced Senses, Ruthless Invader.
I suppose you could change Ruthless if you wanted to Duke.
Yes, go up by 3 points. Yeah. See, there's definitely stuff we can be using these points on.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not having a go at the person that submitted this. No. It's something that we know about Sunterfell now with the benefit of hindsight. And that's just cool. There's just more value to be had in other upgrades. But a cool concept nonetheless, and at the very least, it does show us that we can have a PAL-based list with Whisper, with a lot of flexibility as well in the building. So that looks really, really cool, Jake. If you've had a go at flying this, let us know how it goes, because I'm very curious about this moving forward. Let's finish this video off with some mad jank. Some mad jank.
This is interesting.
Isaac Waffle, thank you for submitting this one. The Spanish Inquisition, we have Oiken and Whisper.
Captain Oiken has Grand Inquisitor, Seventh Sister, Fifth Brother, and Intimidation.
Whisper has Collision Detector, Duke, Stealth Device, and Informant. Wow. Okay, this is something else. So, look, theoretically speaking, yes, you can put 3 Force users on Oiken. The combination of those cards alone costs 40 points, so...
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, but it is 3 recursive Force charges. That's nothing to turn your nose up at.
Yeah, but...
It's Vader-like stats on a Decimator.
But you could have another ship for that.
Yes, you could. You could almost have 2. It's very interesting, though, Justin.
I know.
It's very interesting.
As a fan of the Decimator back in first edition, I look at this and go, I kind of want to do that, but...
Also, the Oiken Intimidation package. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really solid. I like it a lot. Now, Whisper is at 72 points as well. That is sort of the standard points band it goes into.
However,
look, we can do Vader and Duke for the same points.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's have all the Force users in one list. Why not, apart from Palp?
Yeah. We need to find some more points for Palp.
That's another platform. That's... It's very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about having all the Inquisitors on one platform. Because you have extra actions, you can have a little bit of extra control, and you have extra offense. All as passive abilities. That's very interesting to me. It's a build that almost doesn't have to take actions, but it does because you want to be able to move the arc and shoot at range 0.
Yeah.
Fire at range 1 with control backup, with critical backup, with action backup. I don't know. It's 127 points, but it's so interesting.
Yeah, like you just look at it and you go, there's so much good stuff on it. Is that actually a negative because there's so much on it?
Perhaps. I mean, we're talking 127 points.
Yeah.
In first edition speak, that's about 63-ish. 63, 64. And that's not crazy on a Decimator. No. I think we generally don't want to go that high, but it's only a few points more than it would have been.
Yeah.
And it's alongside a Whisper, which I think is pretty legit. I think just switching out for Vader and Duke or Collision Detector, if you really want to do that way, there's nothing wrong with these options. We're just seeing Vader and Duke being the good meta way of building them out. Vader doesn't damage your platform anymore like he used to. You now just punch out damage with that card.
And also having that force ability to be able to, if you really needed to, keep it for either offense or defense.
Yeah, for sure. On an ace-ish sort of ship, it's great. I'm actually surprised they kept the crew on the Phantoms because of what they did with the crew slot in second edition.
Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, the ship always had that space.
I think the idea is you need a technician in the back to work the cloaking device. That's why they did that. Yeah. Wow.
You wouldn't see Vader doing that in...
No. I guess so. Yeah. So, closing thoughts on this list, Justin. What do you think of all of that?
I love it, but at the same time, I'd rather build it differently.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like my gut instinct wants to say, look, you've overbloated this. It's got too much stuff, too much expensive cards. But we're talking about unprecedented abilities with a lot of Force tokens.
Yeah.
And I really dig that.
I kind of like the idea of, Whisper with Vader as well, and just calling it the Force Squad.
The Force Squad, yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Look, I think the biggest issue with this in a game is one of those Force users is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then you've wasted a lot of points. And then your opponent will press their advantage and get more value out of the game. That's the key thing going on here. I don't know which one that is.
Yeah.
It's not obvious. They're all good. I like everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard for me to say I don't like this. However, on the face of this is a kind of list which I would not enjoy flying, but I can't put my finger on what I don't... It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre, and I love it.
The Seventh Sister changes stress to either a jam or
Tractor.
a tractor.
Tractor is so good with Oiken.
Yeah.
You being able to reposition things and being able to bump into things and shoot them with reduced dice.
Yeah,
it's really...
Yeah.
It just seems like it has a lot of potential upside. It's a synergistic card that might not pull off. I understand the downside of that. Look, Isaac, if you've flown this, in the comment section, tell us what it's like. My gut instinct says it's going to be amazing in every other game kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what my gut says. And a really cool submission. And thank you so much for all those submission guys. If you'd like to have your list considered, if you're part of the Patreon on the Discord, submit that in the appropriate channel. If you're on YouTube here, just copy the text on. Best thing you can do is to go to Get Another Squad Builder, copy the simple text and the link below. Thank you. A lot of you have been doing that since I've mentioned that's the best way to do it. I really, really appreciate you doing that. Yeah, in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit.
Consider supporting us on Patreon.
Thank you to all the existing patrons for all your support and helping us decide what list archetypes to talk about on these videos. We'll catch you guys later on.
Bye.